There is something really weird about the footage surrounding Charlie Kirk's assassination. Now, we are in between preliminary hearing. We are going to resume again September 1. And I'm saying we as in you, I, the people of the internet, because we're pretty involved at this point. It's going to resume September 1. But now what is happening is in between, people are scouring through all the footage with a fresh lens on it. The more people look at it, the longer people look at the footage, the more questions seem to appear. So prosecutors have presented surveillance footage they say shows Tyler Robinson climbing onto the roof and positioning himself above the crowd, seemingly giving the public a straightforward explanation for what happened. Now, a new piece of footage is circulating and it has people looking at the same roof very differently. Then there's the forensic evidence, including questions over whether the fatal projectile can actually be conclusively tied to the rifle prosecutors say Robinson used. Sitting right in the middle of all of this are final moments from a guy named Hunter Kozak. So this was the student that was speaking directly to Kirk when the rang out. So none of these details by itself prove that the official story is wrong or, something else. But together, they have pushed the newest theory far beyond the old claim that Kirk somehow faked his death. Because the question people are now asking is much more disturbing. They are now asking, what if Charlie Kirk was really assassinated? But the story about who actually pulled the trigger is not the story we were given. And if you're new here, I'm Lauren Preacher, Willa Preacher, and I, we do this every single day out of pure principle. We do it network-free, independent, bootstrapped, and we do this to keep you safe from Stephen Miller, who is at any given moment lurking around, hungry, hissing at things, coming out of drains, coming out of small cracks in your floorboard. And I need you to hit subscribe. I need you to hit subscribe. I need you to share this video with a friend. Hype if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching elsewhere, leave us a 5-star rating. Comment 6 words or more. All of these actions are going to keep Stephen Miller out of your perimeter. Let's do that. Let's stay safe. So here's what's actually happening. The conspiracy theory has actually changed. Originally, people were saying that this whole thing was staged, but Kirk didn't actually die and that the blood was fake, but that's not really where people are taking this anymore. So now people are saying crisis actors were involved, and crisis actors were tapped in several times throughout this moment. So take a look at this.
I heard a loud bang, which I figured a shot would be a little bit louder, but I just saw it hit him in the chest, and then all of a sudden just tons of blood gushing right out where his heart is.
So here, Candace Owens is saying that crisis actors exposed what was happening in real time, and that this is one of the earliest live witness interviews from the Kirk shooting at UVU. And in this video, the witness is saying that Charlie was in the chest. Then they found the same witness giving an interview to a different news station. And let's take a look at this one.
And that is when Charlie Kirk was shot. It was in the neck, and I watched the blood just spurt out all over his body as he slumped over.
Whew, demeanor, very weird. But what Candace has called out here is this is the same witness, 2 interviews, 2 very, very different descriptions. And now keep that in mind, because now there's also more theories that there were more crisis actors placed in spots throughout the scene, yelling random directions at people. Take a look at this.
Everyone go! This way! This way!
Everyone good? Everyone good? Oh, that was a fun transition.
I'm going to leave. These guys aren't, I guess. That's weird. Anyway.
Now, this was posted, again, all allegedly here. It was posted by Muppet Mosher, and they wrote, many people believe that there were crisis actors at UVU when Charlie was, and I tend to agree. Blake Haskett is literally an actor from BYU and has played the lead role in a few stage productions. I think Blake is one of the black shirt agents of chaos that seem to be controlling the aftermath. Another one of the weirdest selfie videos I've seen taken from the immediate aftermath, with cuts and edits that seem to make no sense. The most disturbing part of this is his desperation to rush everyone into the tunnel, yet casually strolled away in a different direction after his job was done. I guess you could write off his following video as a trauma-based response, but he doesn't seem very upset from what he just witnessed. I would agree. Very, very odd demeanor in this video. There are a few more, and we're going to revisit these in just a moment. But I want to talk more about what's going on. So the newer version of this theory is way more specific. They're saying again that Charlie was, but maybe Robinson didn't actually pull the, and that's a completely different thing, because now we're not arguing about whether it happened and whether Charlie's in Tel Aviv somewhere with a completely new look. We're arguing about whether they arrested the right person for it, or if there's somebody else out there. And the reason this thing blew up is Candace Owens released this rooftop footage she said nobody had seen before. And it shows somebody in black moving across the roof of the Losi Center right before Kirk got. Owens is saying that the way this person moves doesn't match what prosecutors say Robinson was doing. She's using it to question whether Robinson was even the guy in the shooting position. Huge claim, because prosecutors spent most of what we saw in July, the preliminary hearing, laying out the specific timeline. Robinson shows up on campus, moves through the building, climbs onto the roof, positions himself up there, fires, jumps down, leaves the rifle, disappears, and then the FBI said basically the same thing. The shooter's on the roof, fires, jumps, bails, that's it. And prosecutors showed surveillance footage during Robinson's hearing that supposedly tracks him throughout all of it. So it's not like they're hanging this whole case on like one shaky video. There's a whole chain of surveillance footage. And there's also a lot of conversation online on like, is this the same guy? Because look at the haircut, look at the hairline, look at the cadence in which he walks. But now you've got this footage and people are asking obvious questions like, are we actually looking at the same guy here? And speaking of chaos, let's talk about 2028. And a quick shout out to Polymarket for supporting today's video, because this is the exact kind of data that makes you go, okay, we're already doing this, aren't we? So right now, people are putting actual money behind their predictions about who could win the White House in 2028. And if you look at Polymarket's presidential election winner 2028 market, two Democratic names suddenly make a pretty serious move. Take a look at the market data on the screen. So we have AOC sitting at 11%. While Gavin Newsom is right behind her at 10. What's especially interesting is the direction of these lines. So Newsom had been sitting significantly higher for much of the period shown here, hovering around mid to high teens. But over the summer, his odds took a pretty dramatic slide. Meanwhile, AOC has been moving up in the opposite direction, climbing from around 5% to where she is now. Now, again, these numbers are coming directly from Polymarket, the smart market, the betting market, and these are not polls or election results or a guarantee of what will happen in 2028, but they're market prices reflecting what the traders are currently betting on. And that's a pretty still fascinating snapshot of where people are putting their money behind predictions that they think this race could be heading in the direction of, especially this far out from 2028. And we've reached the point where 2028 is already being litigated by people with these accounts. So, and if you're the kind of person who has already decided what you think, you might want to check it out. Now, let's get back to the Kirk of it all. And then there's more of this that's emerging.
How are you?
Did you see what happened, Phil?
No. Charlie was a friend of mine.
So if you're listening to this and not watching, it's a video of Phil Lyman like awkwardly laughing and smiling and looking away, breaking eye contact. When asked about Charlie Kirk getting, people are speculating and claiming that Lyman appears to be a coordinated crisis actor that provided distraction from the real shooter and team on the ground at UVU, kind of even proving his own contradictions. Again, these are Candace Owens theories, but they're worth talking about. And then this one came from Project Constitution, who is sharing that there's deep state crisis actors that are being exposed, and introducing us to Skylar Bard, the eyewitness who's drowning in red flags after Charlie Kirk's shooting.
One of the individuals who has been singled out as a possible co-conspirator is Skylar Baird.
Why is the FBI telling witnesses from the Charlie Kirk assassination to delete their footage? Because it might cause them PTSD. Ryan Simmons luckily backed up his footage on an external hard drive. And I have to wonder if the FBI wants it deleted because he caught an angle of this character on camera. His name is Skylar Baird. Skylar kept very close proximity to Charlie's security guard before the TPUSA event when they were pushed up against the wall, and during the event when they both both were front row. Skylar's Facebook shows that he was dropping out of helicopters for the Coast Guard in 2018. But now he's claiming to just be a digital content creator, even though he only has 7 posts, 5 of which were after the Charlie Kirk assassination. But he somehow got a floor press pass to the memorial. He was the guy that mainstream media interviewed over 7 times.
Watch the video for like 10.
The thing is, even if it's not Robinson on the roof, it doesn't automatically mean anything. The footage hasn't been verified either way, as far as I'm concerned. But if somebody is up there, what the hell was Robinson actually doing? Like, was somebody working with him? Was he puppeteered? Like, then you get this darker version. So people are saying Robinson gets framed. And here's the thing. Maybe he's involved. Maybe he's taking somebody else's directions, and maybe he is actually the one that takes the shot. Maybe he's not, but he ends up holding the bag, and prosecutors definitely have evidence connecting him to the crime, allegedly. Surveillance, DNA, stuff they say are admissions. But the question becomes, like, does all this evidence actually prove he fires the shot and that he wasn't being, guided by somebody else? Because this is where the bullet comes in. So the ballistics thing is also weird. The defense is saying that testing couldn't definitively match the bullet to Robinson's gun, and everyone online just ran with, like, it's not his gun. Not necessarily what inconclusive means. It's just they couldn't prove it matched, and not that they proved it came from someplace else. And on its own might not mean anything, but if you throw this into the rooftop footage, that makes people question whether Robinson was even up there. Now, you've got something going on. Like, if that's not Robinson on the roof and the bullet doesn't match his gun, then who the hell shot Charlie Kirk? And here's where it gets weirder. There's the student that we mentioned in the beginning, Hunter Kozak, who was asking Kirk a question when the happened. Kirk is standing there answering him, and then boom, somebody from above, and Kozak had even been asking about mass shootings right before. So the timing is very clean. And you've got this controversial question. Kirk's engaging with it. They're mid-conversation, and then... So does that mean Kozak knew something? Probably not. But people started wondering, was it just a coincidence that he was facing that way, or did that need to happen at exactly that same moment? And once you start thinking about it like that, other questions pile up. Who knew where Kirk could be? Who knew that that was the security setup? Who could get on that roof? Who was texting who? Who saw this coming? And then there's the FBI showing up almost immediately. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. They'd get there fast for not a university. But conspiracy people are asking, like, did they get there that fast because they were doing their job, which they haven't been doing so great lately, or because they already knew something was going to happen? And here's what changed about this conspiracy theory. The original version was pretty straightforward. They said Charlie's death was all fake, but this new theory is saying that shooting and all of that actually went down, but maybe it wasn't Tyler Robinson. So here's why the footage matters. So the footage we saw on the roof, all of this, the ballistics problem, a lot of funny business going on here. This is the part where things get really sideways. Hunter Kozak, the last person to talk to Charlie, seemed to have a lot of lead up with this question.
You had to preview your question with like his people in the line.
Yeah, Turning Point staff.
And then they put you up in the front, or
yeah, they were like, at one point, one of the girls was like, "Oh, you're perfect," and then like pushed me to second. So I was second in line.
Kozak says the staff came around asking the group for their questions, and when informed that they liked his question, he was told he would be second up to the podium. Was his question a perfect lineup to show how much the left hates Charlie, to secure his martyrdom, because that's part of the, narrative that they're also running with? And then this video of Hunter right after the shooting also, raises some questions.
Oh my God. So Charlie Kirk just said that the suspected Minneapolis school shooter was trans. First Nashville, now this. How many times makes a trend? Probably the only way to do this is to have an ungodly amount of time to parse through all of the 6,000 mass shootings that have ever happened in the history of America. I mean, Charlie's counting on the fact that only a psycho would do all that. Trans people are surprisingly and extremely nonviolent. Now, while I was scrolling Charlie Kirk's video, I noticed that he was touring America, and he was touring universities specifically. And one of these caught my eye because one of these is the university I'm currently going to. Obviously, that university was UVU, where I currently go to school, and I'm getting a degree in mathematics in. But yeah, here's what I asked. I asked, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Too many. I said the number's 5, counting or non-counting gang violence. Pop is heard. Shout out to CNN for fact-checking me and saying I'm right.
Begs the question, what did this person know? Was it orchestrated? We're going to keep digging in here. I want to know what you guys think. I know that you guys have a lot of opinions on this one. Do you think that there's something involved? Have any of you ever been at the scene of something so horrible? Let me know in the comments, and we'll be back. Again, I'm Lauren Pretra. Like, share, sub, do all the things.